Hey friend, welcome back to the channel. If you're new, my name is Megan from Grey Arrow Tarot, and I am a certified transformational tarot coach and intuitive tarot reader. And today we are going to look at the history of your future spouse. Now, this was actually a video that was requested. It was more specifically requested as the relationship history of your future spouse. But this commenter who had requested the video brought up a really good point, and I had answered this to them at the time, but I also want to say something here because I think it's really important. The reason this person was asking was because they had a very strong idea of some things that they were not okay with seeing in their future spouse's history. And to them, I said, I honestly don't think you need a reading on that. Like if there are some things that you know for sure, it's likely your intuition telling you this is not what you want, this wouldn't be good for you. But also too, you don't need a tarot reading to confirm your boundaries. And that was something I forgot to say to them. Not really forgot, it was something that came to me the more I thought about this. Tarot is incredibly powerful, but you never need a tarot reading to justify your boundaries. If you know that's a boundary for you and you meet someone and they have this characteristic or piece of their history that violates your boundary, they're not for you. And I would say even getting into this reading, I did want to widen the lens a little bit. So we're not going to be looking at just their relationship history. We're going to be looking at this person's history and any relevant information you might need. However, this is true for this reading. It's true for any tarot reading. If a message comes up that would violate a specific boundary to you, then that part of the message is not for you. It can still be your group, like everything else in the reading might apply, or there could just be other things in that group that resonate. But that part of the reading is never going to be your message if you are deciding that's a boundary. Go into all tarot with that in mind. So with that said, you can go ahead and choose your group. But as always, remember, this is a general reading. So take what resonates, leave the rest for who it's meant for. You don't have to overthink this. I truly believe if you are drawn to this video, then there was at least one message for you here. If you're drawn to a group, there is at least one message for you here. It's also possible that you will be drawn to multiple groups, and it's perfectly fine to listen to as many groups as you're called to. It just means that there are messages for you in multiple groups, and you are free to take and claim whatever messages resonate. So you can go ahead and choose your group. This is pile number 1. This is pile number 2. This is pile number 3. And this is pile number 4. If you would like to sit with the cards for a little bit longer, you can go ahead and pause the video here. Otherwise, when you're ready, you'll find the timestamps in the description box below, and I'll see you at your reading. Hey, pile number 1, welcome to your reading. Let's see about your future spouse's history. We have 2 cards pop out for you already. Let's get 2 or 3 more. We have 3 more. All right, perfect. All right, so this is a little bit into your future spouse's history. Let's see what we've got for you. First up, we had the 7 of Pentacles, followed by the World. Next, we have the Moon reversed and the Sun reversed. Ooh, and Judgment reversed. This is interesting. This is a pretty well shuffled deck. Actually, I'm going to have to move these cards because they are in the way. It's a little bit of a bigger deck. So yeah, this is really interesting because this is actually a pretty well shuffled deck. So the fact that we've got the Moon, the Sun, Judgment, and even the World coming up all together is really interesting. I mean, these 3 cards coming out in order for the most part. Yeah, it's really interesting. So looking at this, I feel like a big piece of your person's history, because we do have most of your cards, 3 of the 5 cards are reversals. So one key piece of your person's history is I feel like they have done a lot of inner work. Reversals have a few different interpretations for me, but one of the big ones is it's internalized energy. So it is this going inward. It's taking the energy of the cards and going inward. Or in this case, looking at all 3 of these cards together, to me, I'm getting inner work. So I feel like this person is probably somebody who is very interested in self-development, self-growth. I'm also getting like big accountability energy. Like I think they can see when they make a mistake. This isn't somebody who thinks they are perfect. They can see when they make a mistake and they're willing to be accountable for it. I feel like that's part of what sent them on this inner work journey, is that they've realized that they had habits and behaviors that were not up to par, that were not creating the life that they wanted to live and making them into the person they wanted themselves to be. So I feel like they did spend a lot of time and energy really working on themselves. And perhaps they still continue to do so. I mean, I think that is kind of a lifelong journey type of thing. But yeah, so inner work is really important to them. And I think that is a big part of their history. So getting into these cards a little bit more specifically, over here with the Seven of Pentacles, especially with the Seven of Pentacles and the World coming up, I really am getting the sense there is something that they have had to be really patient about. There's something they really wanted in life that I think they had to be very patient for. It took them, I think, longer to do something than either most people would have expected or is typical. Like so some examples of this energy. For example, it may have taken them longer to graduate college, or if they went, or they may have started college later in life than the average person does. Or also it could be something where like, if they projected or other people projected, if they were building something or moving up the ranks of their organization, their job, it may have taken them longer to kind of reach the level that they wanted to be at. But what the Seven of Pentacles talks about, especially this Seven of Pentacles, like look how abundant this card is. We have somebody who is literally like on top of this tree. And this is something that they grew and they nurtured and they took the time to do right. So I feel like there is an aspect of your person, your future spouse, who is very patient, and they really created something meaningful. And again, I feel like it took more time than either they were expecting, or it took more time than is average, or it took more time just than most people would expect something like this to take. But they got there. And the other energy of this card is like, it's, how there's all of those like awards, or we kind of really celebrate people who are successful young, who are successful like when they're in their 20s or something like that. This could be somebody who is successful, but it took them longer, again, to reach the top. Like they could have been late 30s or what have you. It's also possible this is something that they are still working on when you meet. This is more of a history reading, so I actually do think it's behind them. But depending on when you meet, they could still be like really climbing to the top. I think they've made significant progress. If they're not at the top of this accomplishment or goal by the time that you come into their life, they are working on this still. But I think they're close. Now with the World, I do think they have had many significant accomplishments. And actually that could have been part of why they delayed other things in their life. Like there could have been something, I'm almost getting this energy of like, again, it's like that college type of energy where they like had an opportunity like right after high school. So instead of going to college, they took that opportunity to see where it panned out. And then they went to college later. So like that doesn't have to be that specific example or that specific situation. This is just an example, but that's kind of the energy where it's like there was something that most people do and they delayed it. And they went on, they had another accomplishment, they did other things, and then they went back and did that traditional thing in their own time. But also, like, I think it's really interesting. We have two globes here. Actually, three if you're counting this person's dress, but let's just stick with what she's holding. And I feel like one's bigger than the other. So I feel like they have had lots of accomplishments in their life. Like by the time they come into your life, this is a very accomplished person. But I also feel like, especially with this inner work that we have, it's a very accomplished person, but I feel like they might not have always liked the way things have come together for them. It could either be that, they haven't always liked how they handle situations and they wanted to go and do work to change that, or they haven't always liked how they manage situations and they wanted to go and work a little bit more to change that. But this person, I feel like they've had accomplishments, like they are very accomplished, but there's an element of like, it wasn't as satisfying as they thought it would be. And I think that's ultimately what led to this inner work, because they have these accomplishments. They've overcome trials and tribulations. They were patient. They nurtured something. They've brought something really meaningful into the world. And they are very accomplished. And yet I feel like I think they're missing something. And I do think it could be the relationship factor. It could be the kind of thing where like they're not quite sure why, despite their best efforts, they haven't been able to make a relationship work. But more than anything, I think it's like they kind of had to go on a little bit of a journey of self-discovery. With, you know what? I kind of want to jump to the Sun for a minute, because this card's really popping off to me. Like what I'm getting is one big thing this your person had to figure out was what actually makes them happy. Like, what do they really want in life? I don't think they knew. Like, they're making these accomplishments, and I do think it was stuff they cared about, but it was very externally driven. You know how like society like kind of puts those goals and ideas on us as kids, that like we have to have a goal. We have to be achieving something and making money and doing all of this stuff. And I feel like this person did those things and did not find the happiness that they were looking for. And that's what led them in part to this journey of self-discovery, to actually find what makes them happy, because that spark was really missing. And you know what, with the moon, I feel like the moon, like this is kind of dark night of the soul energy, where it like they did have this moment of like, I'm almost like envisioning like waking up in a cold sweat, like, what is my life? Like, I've got all the things on the outside, but like I don't feel connected to anything, and I don't feel connected to anyone. Like I'm getting kind of a sense of loneliness. And I feel like with the moon, especially in the reverse, it's really illuminating for them what is lacking. And that's what led to this Sun energy, the Sun reverse energy, where they had to go figure out, what do they actually want? Like, what's actually meaningful to them? And I do think in part, like, I don't think they prioritize relationships in the past because they were so focused on these achievements. I feel like they probably have had some connections, but I don't think it was a priority for them. And I'm not getting the sense that like they were careless in relationships or anything like that. It was just like, you know, they would date, they would maybe have some like shorter term relationships, and they were looking to be in a commitment. Like, this wasn't like, I'm not getting like player energy. It's just the idea of like, they weren't really finding a connection or a spark. And I think part of it is because, one, they were too focused on their external goals, and two, they really weren't clear on how important a connection was for them. And they weren't really clear on what they even wanted in a relationship until they did this inner work. Which leads us to this Judgment card, which I feel like there is something that is emerging in them, probably around the time you meet or just before, that like they have this spark in them that I think they've been ignoring. It's like they are finally finding the thing that has been calling to them, and like it's them learning to get out of their own way. It's them learning to really shed the ideas that society placed on them and answer the call. And I feel like this is both like for the types of relationships and connections that they want in their life, but it's also for what they really want to be doing. Because again, obviously they have the ability to accomplish things, but the things they've accomplished felt very external, felt very like goal oriented. It didn't totally satisfy them. So I feel like they are getting clear on what they actually want to offer the world going forward, and who they want to be and what energy they want to embody. So I feel like that's also probably part of why like this connection will work, is because they do know who they are. Like, this was a really important part of their history, is learning who they are, and learning what they want to do in life. You know, it's them uncovering their authentic self, and that's putting them in a position to actually be a solid partner. Let's see what the Oracle cards can add to this. What else can you tell us about Pile number one's future spouse's history? You get a few. Let's just take the top. We'll take the top two because that's what came out. First, we have potential, confined and infinite. I very much feel like this is your person's journey. Like, the part of their history, like before you meet, it's like they actually were very confined. They had so much potential. There's so much potential, and they see the potential in themselves and in their life. But they've in the past been very confined. They've felt very confined to, again, like societal ideals, what like the path that they've even been on. And their journey is learning that they are infinite, that there are infinite possibilities, that they can do anything with their life. And I feel like it's given them a new life force. Like I think when you meet this person, they're going to feel very much like alive, and they're going to have this very, very lively energy, and that I feel like it's going to feel really good to be around. Oh my gosh. Yes. And then we have gratitude, ungrateful, appreciative. I don't feel like this person was ever truly ungrateful, but I do feel like they have developed a gratitude practice. I think they've learned to be appreciative for who they are. And they've learned how, I think this is just someone who understands the power of gratitude, who understands what it means to really lean into who you are and to be grateful for all that you have. Again, and that just goes hand in hand with, I feel like that's kind of like that life force energy. Like you have to kind of be grateful to see the possibility in the world. Maybe you don't have to be, but I feel like most people who embody gratitude are naturally much more lively and fun to be around. It's that it is just such an energy that they bring to the table. And I feel like that's what this person has, what your person has. What else can you tell us about pile number one's future spouse's history? That's kind of a mouthful. All right, we've got one. And this one's talking to me. All right, first up, we've got blessed. Yes, with the number 22. So yes, blessed. I do feel like, again, like this is this person's energy, and I feel like they know that. It's like this journey of like self-discovery that they went on truly was transformational. They see the blessings in their life. Again, it's more gratitude energy. This is just somebody who is truly, and like this is the thing too, they're open to blessings. Like I don't feel like this is somebody who lives in worst case scenarios. Yes, sure, perhaps if they can spot a problem, they'll do something about it, but this isn't someone who's constantly worrying about things going wrong. This is someone who truly believes they are blessed and things are going to work out for them. This also could have been, this journey they went on could have been a spiritual journey. Like they could have gotten really into spirituality at this point. And I think that could have also been part of what opened them up more to this blessed energy and this gratitude energy. And next we have a leg up. Okay, so this is really interesting. I feel like this person, I think they really like to help out when they can. Like they like to give people a leg up. And in return, I think they also are willing to ask for help when they need it. But I'm just seeing this person like perhaps in the past, because again, this is their history. So I think in the past, someone has given them a leg up. Like I do think they had support during this time. So when they can pay that forward, they're very willing to do it. They're very willing to step up and help out and give someone a leg up. Because again, I feel like that's something that they have gotten in the future that was really meaningful and helpful to them. All right, last messages for pile number one. What else do they need to know about their future spouse's history? Ooh, that one flew out. And we'll take, all right, I was going to take two more, but we will take three more. Okay. First up, we've got safety. So yeah, I feel like this person is a very safe person, and I feel like it's rooted in all of the inner work they did. I can't really overstate how much this has been transformational to them, how much they know who they are. And I think they've also, like, it's like in their own development, this is just a very healthy person. And I think they are very good at creating safety. And I feel like you're going to feel very safe with them because of the journey that they went on. Rescue, help others in need or ask for assistance when you need it. What did we just say? What do we say? I feel like, again, it's somebody who is very willing to help out when they can, very willing to give someone a leg up, and also is willing to ask for assistance when they need it. They got help and they are willing to do it. This is just more confirmation of what we just talked about, and I love when that happens. And next we have voyage, set sail on a new course. Yes, that very much confirms this judgment card we were talking about, is that I feel like around the time you're coming in, they're either about to go in a new direction or have recently started a new direction. And again, it just feels very exciting. Like they're in such a positive, expansive place, I think, when you connect, because of the transformations that they have been through and the direction that they have. And it's just, this person has very safe and grounding energy, but also really fun energy. Like it's a really good mix. And I do feel like their history, and again, the journey they went on, specifically the internal journey they went on, played a big role in the energetic shift and the energy that this person carries. So on that note, pile number 1, I'm going to leave this reading here. Thank you so much for letting me read for you. If this reading resonates, I would love to know how in the comments. And if you enjoyed this reading, please give the video a like and subscribe to the channel. I would love to have you in future videos. If you would like a personalized experience, I do have personal readings linked below in the description box on my website. I also have live tarot readings that you can book with me linked below, as well as coaching sessions that you can book. All of that linked in the description box below. If none of that is right for you, but you do want to support the channel, I do have like a donation/tip jar. It's never expected, but always appreciated. And it does go just to support the growth of the channel. But no matter what you choose, or if you choose nothing, if this video was enough for you, I thank you so much for being here today. I hope you're having a wonderful day or night wherever you are in the world. And I hope to see you in the next one. Bye. Hey, Pile 2. Welcome to your reading. Now, before we dive in, I just want to give a quick note about the deck that we're using today. This deck is very niche. It is a Philly tarot deck, and I live in the Philadelphia area. I love this deck. I love the energy of it, but for a really long time, I've never brought it onto YouTube. Really, for a very long time, I didn't want to bring it onto YouTube because I felt like it was too niche. People might not get it. But I really love the energy of it, and I decided I want to use it. So this is its YouTube debut. It's still just a tarot deck, but there might be some things on it that you don't totally get or understand, and that's fine. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. If you don't get it, I'm here to explain some things for you. I'm going to explain what you need to know. But I just wanted to give a little note because some of it might be a little confusing if you don't know where the deck is coming from. So let's see, what is in your future spouse's history? What is in pile number 2's future spouse's history? Okay, that's like a lot of the deck. We're going to take this one and we will take this one that fell separately. Okay, let's see what we've got. All right, first up we have the 6 of Pentacles, followed by the Ace of Swords reversed, followed by the 8 of Swords, and the Magician reversed. Okay. So one thing I'm getting with your person, I feel like with these, we have a good amount of uprights and reversals. So I feel like this is a very balanced person. Like even in their history, I think they've done a good amount of like external work, like building their life, but then also internal work, getting to know themselves, to self-development, that kind of stuff. There's just a lot of balance happening here between the internal and the external worlds. So I really love that for you. That both of those pieces are a part of their history. I also feel like they've kind of had to go on a little bit of a personal power journey. Because it's interesting, like a lot of these backgrounds are very muted. You know, we've got like kind of brownish gray, and then we have this bright yellow. So I feel like a large part of their journey before you meet is them really learning to cultivate their personal power, learning to stand in it, to have a really healthy relationship with it, and to be able to use it in a way that's really supportive and uplifting to themselves, but also others. So I feel like by the time you meet, they're going to have a very strong relationship with their power. They're going to know how to use it. They're going to know how to use it in a really healthy and effective way. And they're going to know how to use it in a way that, again, yes, it benefits them, but they will also use it to advocate for others and to take action for others when they can. There's a very generous spirit here, especially coming up with the 6 of Pentacles. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into things. So like I was saying, with the 6 of Pentacles, I feel like this person is very generous, and I feel like they got that way because people have been generous with them in the past. Like they're very much into the circle, the reciprocal circle. And I feel like I'm getting a couple different messages. So take what resonates. This is not going to be true. Both interpretations won't be true for you, though they can be. But one thing I'm getting is I do feel like your person may have come from like possibly poverty, but just very humble beginnings where they did not have a lot growing up and may have had to rely on the kindness of others. Like I'm almost kind of feeling like maybe they ate dinner at friends' houses some nights, either so that they could like so that like their friend's family was kind of taking care of them a little bit. I'm not so sure if it was like trouble at home. For some people it might have been, but I feel like it was just more of kind of like they just did not, they really didn't have enough growing up. But then the other on the flip side, I also feel like they just growing up, they were always kind of given things to a degree, and not in like an entitled way. Like they've had people helping them out, because again, I feel like it's like it was necessary. It was necessary that people give them certain things and certain opportunities. And I feel like they were able to make the most of those opportunities. Like that's part of what has put them in this position now, where they have resources to pay forward, to give back to. And yeah, to really, like, I'm just kind of getting this energy of taking care of people. I do feel like I'm almost getting like the idea of like a community kind of coming together to help them. And I don't know if it's necessarily the whole community in like a very large grand gesture kind of way, but just kind of the it takes a village type of energy, that they did have a village that would support them when their family or just them were struggling and needed the help. And I think that to them was just as like foundational as anything else, that people would come together to help them. And it's something that they really care about, and it really matters to them about paying things forward. Now, the second message I'm getting is that they may have had parents who weren't really their parents, like parental figures who weren't their actual parents. Like it could have been family members who took them in. It could have been foster parents. It could have been even like later adoptive parents. But it's like, I do feel like for some of them, they did have kind of issues with their biological parents, that they could not stay with them. And they ended up living and being raised by someone else. And I feel like it is the kind of thing where like they remember their parents, like they were with their parents for a while, but ended up with somebody else who truly raised them and took care of them and provided these things for them. And they didn't have to. And I think your person is very well aware of the fact that like this was an act of extreme generosity of somebody else. Even if it's family, they still didn't have to do what they did. They didn't have to take them in. They didn't have to be there for them. So taking care of those people specifically and paying that energy forward is something that's really important to them. Now, with this Ace of Swords reversed, I feel like, especially Ace of Swords and the Eight of Swords coming up together. So we have these two swords energies. I feel like your person has had some really good ideas, like really good breakthroughs, really like big sources of inspiration, sparks of inspiration that they were afraid to act on. Like they did not have the self-confidence. They didn't have the belief in themselves that they could do this thing. Or possibly they were afraid to use the resources, like perhaps based on their upbringing, they were afraid to use the resources. Like they didn't believe enough in themselves that they could pull it off, and they were afraid to like waste a resource. But I think part of their journey, especially with the Magician coming up in the reverse at the end, I feel like part of their journey is actually learning to harness and cultivate this power. It's learning that it's learning that self-confidence. It's learning that self-trust. And by the time you meet, they have it. Like, I almost feel like I'm kind of getting the idea that like you will be shocked to learn that there was ever a time that they did not trust themselves and they were not confident. Like this idea that they had that they finally acted on. And I do feel like they generated a certain amount of success with this idea. You will be shocked to know that they ever doubted themselves, because the journey they have gone on from the time they've had this idea and buried it. Like, to me, that's kind of what this reversal is indicating, that they had a really good idea. They had an idea that could really like change something. And I feel like for them, they eventually did act on it, but I think it was a long time. I feel like there was some time of struggle where it was like they were suppressing their true self, their true nature, this idea that wanted to emerge. And it was like they kept trying to make other things work, maybe more practical things work out. But then like those things weren't working and they finally just like took a chance. And it was in doing this thing that they developed all this self-confidence. They learned the lessons of trusting themselves. They learned that they actually did have what it takes. And that's a large reason that helped. That's a large thing that helped them rise up, was really like letting themselves have this idea, do this thing. And it's ultimately what led to them setting themselves free. Because what we have with this, with the Eight of Swords, I feel like they do have this energy where I think for a while they felt really confined. Like they were kind of felt trapped in a life I think that they didn't love for one reason or another. Perhaps they stayed out of duty. Like I'm kind of getting this like sense that they stayed somewhere or did something out of obligation. I think that could have been why they were afraid to take a chance on this, is they felt obligated. They felt like they had a responsibility to be living a life that just wasn't aligned with them, that wasn't actually good, that wasn't making them happy. And I feel like to a degree, even in that life, they weren't as successful as they could have been. And that was largely because they were suppressing themselves. You know, I really do believe, like, yes, there might be other things that we're good at, but we're never going to be truly satisfied. We're never truly going to have all of our needs met, like spiritual needs. We're never going to feel fulfilled if you are living a life that's not really for you. If you're doing the thing you should do instead of what your heart and soul is actually calling you to do. And I feel like that's a very important lesson that they learned. And I'm always kind of getting to, like, it has made them into the biggest cheerleader when someone has an idea like this, like they had, that's not super practical, that's out on the limb, and they're afraid to go after it. They're going to be the first person that says, you have to try. Like, you have to try and I have your back. So like I'm almost envisioning like you coming to them with some big risk, some big like idea that you want to try, that you want to execute. And they're going to be right there with you. Like, it's like you're almost, it's almost this energy of like you going, hoping someone will say no, because if someone tells you it's not going to work, then you don't have to follow through. But this person's going to be in your corner. They're going to say, go for it, do it. Like, you have to try. And if it doesn't work, it's okay, but you have to try. And I feel like that's what this person learned. Like, at one point they found themselves backed into a corner, but they came to realize that they were the only person keeping them in this position. Like, even the people that they thought they were obligated or felt duty bound to stay in this role, those people did not even see that as the case. This was a cage of their own making, and they had the power to change it. They had the power to set themselves free, and that's exactly what they did. And that leads us to this Magician reverse energy, which this, to me, this is someone discovering their personal power. The Magician, when it's upright, it's telling you that you have everything you need, that you have all the tools you need to move forward, and it's time to like go after the dream, go after the goal. When this card comes up in the reverse, it can mean a few things, but the biggest thing I'm getting with this reading is that this is somebody who is learning that personal power, who is learning, like they had to find, like, yes, these, like they always had everything they need. All of the tools were always inside themselves, but they had to cultivate that. They had to discover that. They actually didn't believe that. And it was in going on this journey of setting themselves free, of deciding that, you know what, like I actually am the master of my own fate. I am the master of my own destiny. I can make anything happen for myself. It was in doing that and going on this journey and taking this risk that they learned their personal power. They learned everything that they're capable of. And I do feel like they were very successful. I think this person, when they come into your life, is going to be very successful. And I do think they're kind of in a little bit of a position of power. Exactly the degree of that power is going to vary, but I feel like in their community, like in their environment, they are a very powerful figure. And again, I feel like they are not afraid to use their power for good. They are not afraid to use any resources they have to support people, to pay it forward. I do think they have a very kind and generous heart because people have been very kind and generous with them. And with this, the Six of Pentacles here, paying that forward and paying it back is very important to them. All right, what else can you tell us about the history of pile number twos, future spouse? Okay. We have 3 that came out. All right, so first, devotion. Indifferent and passionate. So I feel like this person, this happened in the last group too, where I feel like the first card that came out, like this kind of describes their journey, where to a degree they were very indifferent about their life because they weren't sparked. They weren't living a very passionate life. They were doing what they thought they should do. And they had to learn when they leaned into their passion, when they embraced that spark, that it ignited everything. And I love that we have in this imagery, this person is like holding their heart. Their heart is literally outside their chest. And I feel like this person is very good at showing their heart to the people that matter to them, but even to a degree to the world. I feel like when they, because again, I feel like they are in a position of power. And I feel like when they communicate with whoever it is they're communicating with, like whether it be in their organization or in their community or in the world at large, whenever they communicate in a public way, they are very honest. Like I think it's very obvious to people too that they are very honest in what they're saying, and that's really important to them. And I think in some ways it's almost surprising because I feel like there is something about them that I think looks harder. Like it looks like they would not be someone who is willing to be honest, who is willing to be vulnerable in this way, but they absolutely are. And it's largely because of this journey that they've been on. They actually understand that the power lies in following your heart and in letting your heart be seen. And we've got support. What did we say? We have discouraged to encouraged. Yeah, I feel like they did, again, like they had a very discouraged upbringing. There was not a lot of support. There was not a lot going on until someone stepped in and supported them, until they got support from other people. And I do think, again, giving support is just such a huge theme in their life. It was so important for them to get it when they need it, and they are so willing to give it in return now. And we've got growth, dying, evolving. Yeah. They're willing to lean into growth. They're willing to lean into change. This is not somebody who's going to stay stuck in the past and in old versions of themselves. Like the transformation they went on to awaken their personal power showed them how important growth is. And because of that, they're always going to lean into growth. Like I said, they're always going to lean into people who want to grow and change. They are totally invested and have your back. What else can you tell us? Okay. First up, we've got by the book. So I do think, okay, this to me, I feel like this is their look. They look like they are a very by the book person. I feel like they come off very well presented. Like I'm almost imagining someone suit, tie, they look kind of buttoned up, but they're actually not that buttoned up. I think there's a lot more to them. There's a lot more dimensionality. There's a lot more to them. I'm getting distracted because I'm realizing I made it more like masculine gendered. I guess I am kind of getting a masculine energy from this group. It doesn't have to be male though. It's like the idea is like they just look very well put together. But yeah, I do feel like this person, like again, they just look very by the book. And here we've got loyal heart. Yeah, this person is very loyal because they have, again, it goes back to they have been helped. I think they are very loyal to the people who support them and who protect their heart. They're just, and I feel like, again, this is an important message for you that like they are going to be so loyal to you. Like they have your back completely. They're so all in. And I feel like it's not going to take very long for them to know they're all in. This isn't to say they're going to rush anything. But I feel like this is somebody who has learned to trust themselves. And when their intuition tells you they're the one, they're going to know. They're going to hear that and see that and respect it. What else do we have for pile number 2, last messages? All right, first we've got communicate. Things left unsaid will never reach the shore. Yeah, I do feel like this person is a very good communicator. Again, I think it goes back to this heart energy, that they're willing to let their heart be seen. They are not going to leave anything unsaid. They're not going to risk a miscommunication. They're not going to risk being misunderstood. They're going to do their best to really tell you what they mean, to share what they mean. And it just all goes back to the lesson they learned about how important it is to follow their heart and trust their heart and express their heart. Optimism. After each rainstorm, there will be clear skies. Yeah, I feel like because of what they overcome young, they have a sense of optimism. It's like if they can overcome their start, how can they not be optimistic with what they've made of their life, with what their life has turned into, with the people who have shown up for them? Like, yeah, there were things in their history that are kind of shitty, but there's someone who does see the positives. Again, they see the people who have shown up for them. They see what they were able to make possible for themselves. So despite everything, this is just a very optimistic person. Choose wisely, be discerning. You don't have to keep everything in your net. So yeah, I feel like this is somebody who, again, this is interesting because they have seen both sides of the world. I think they've seen it both pretty young. So as much as they're willing to support others and really willing to be a cheerleader and be there for people and to use their power to help people, they are discerning. They aren't going to just support everyone who comes forward. I think because they have a certain amount of history, they're going to do their research. They're going to really make sure that the people that they are trusting can be trusted. So as much, like I said, I feel like their intuition is going to tell them pretty quickly that like you are the one, but they are going to let things run their course because they need to see things come together in a way that really feels authentic and good. And that's just because they have had a harder start. So they do know that there are two sides to the world. Or really there's more than two sides, but they know there are people who can be trusted and there are people who really can't be. And they want to make sure that the people they're bringing into their circle are people who can be trusted. So they do choose wisely. They are good at being discerning. They don't just give their power and their support freely. But once they've made their choice, once they've given their power and support to somebody, they are all in, which I think is really, really powerful and really exciting for you. But on that note, pile number 2, I'm going to leave this reading here. Thank you so much for letting me read for you. If this reading resonates, I'd love to know how in the comments. And if you enjoyed this reading, please give the video a like and subscribe to the channel. I would really love to have you in future videos. If you would like a personalized experience, you can find information on how to book a reading in the description box below. You can also book a live tarot reading with me and a coaching session, a transformational tarot coaching session. All of that is in the description box below. And if none of that sounds good to you, but you do want to support the channel, you can leave a donation/tip in the donation link linked in the description box. It's never expected, but always appreciated, and it just goes to support the channel. But either way, thank you so much for being here. I hope you're having a wonderful day or night wherever you are in the world, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye. Hey, Pal 3, welcome to your reading. Let's take a look at the history of your future spouse. So what is the history of your future spouse? What is the history of your future spouse? Let's see, we've got 2 here, 3. Let's grab one more for you. What is the history? There it is. Okay. So first up, we've got Judgment, followed by the Queen of Swords reversed, followed by the Knight of Swords reversed, and the Five of Wands. Okay, so a couple things that I'm noticing right off the bat here. So one thing I've kind of been seeing in these readings is like using the number of uprights and reversals to kind of indicate how much inner versus like external work your person has done. So to me, the fact that we've got a balance here means like they have done their share of inner work and they have also done their share of external work. So to me, the inner work is like, learning who you are, emotional intelligence, like all of that kind of internal belief system healthy cultivation kind of stuff. The external is like career, house, like material goods, all of that kind of like the stuff that we kind of see as like, again, just more external, like the stuff that we can see in each other, the tasks and accomplishments that we can see in each other. So I feel like with your person, they are going to be pretty balanced. Like they've definitely done the internal work and they have done their share of external work. They do have some accomplishments under their belt by the time you come together. I'm also really noticing the amount of blue that we have in these cards. So to me, that means they have also, I think, really had to learn how to speak up for themselves, how to use their voice in a really intentional way. And I think part of it, like their journey, I feel like has been learning their truth and really learning to advocate for themselves. And I think once you learn to speak up, like I do think they're the kind of person who will speak up for others too. So if you are in a situation where you, for whatever reason, cannot use your voice, this person will be very willing to step in and advocate for you. I feel like because they have gone on this journey of really finding and harnessing their own voice, they're going to want to use that power, and they don't hesitate to step into that power because this is a lesson that they have really learned and cultivated. Now, first, here with Judgment, I feel like this is somebody who has found their calling kind of early in life. And this doesn't mean they don't have more callings, like there isn't more growth, there won't be new things that they will be drawn to, but I feel like this is somebody who just at a very early age found their thing. Because Judgment speaks to answering the call. It is like we've got this rising from the ashes energy, because this is very Phoenix happening here. So I do feel like there may have been some struggle even early on, but this is just somebody who I think was either they found their calling early or they found success early. So like, for example, what I mean by this, if they found their calling early, maybe they realized when they were in like first grade that they were meant to be a musician or they were meant to be like on Broadway, and they put themselves on that track and they were able to get there eventually. Alternatively, it could be that they like very early on found success. So if they were like, maybe shortly out of college, they had some like big breakout and were very successful in whatever it is that they tried to do. But the fact that this card is coming up first indicates to me that in their history, early on, they found their calling, they found success with their calling. And even, I think to a degree, there may have been some struggle with that. But with this Phoenix energy, like they learned how to rise up, they learned how to overcome. So I feel like this person is also very resilient. Now, with that said, because I think there is kind of the other side of the coin, that when you find a certain amount of success early, when you find a certain amount of understanding of what you're passionate about early, that can get a little all-consuming. And I feel like one of your person's biggest journeys is like, yes, they found this achievement or they found this calling, but it's very easy to get caught up in that energy, in that forward motion, in that striving for the goal. And I think that was kind of their life to a point. And it did reach a moment where they kind of had to realize, I'm chasing after this thing, but what's the bigger picture? Like, what do I really want my life to look like? What do I really want to be chasing after? Like, yes, I still love this thing. I still am very passionate about whatever this is. This is still important to me. But I think there's more here. I think there's more to me. And with the Queen of Swords coming up in the reverse, I feel like this is somebody who had to figure out what their truth was. Like, had to figure out who they truly were, what was truly important to them. Also, with the Queen of Swords coming up in the reverse, sometimes this can indicate someone who could be a little bit cold, especially on the outside. And I don't feel like in your person's case, it was like they were like mean or nasty to people, but it was more like they were so focused on this thing that they didn't give things the time and attention they really deserved. And I think they came off as being cold sometimes to people, but it wasn't in this callous way. It was just like in this way where like they just weren't giving things outside of whatever this was their time and attention, the time and attention that they really deserved. And this Queen of Swords, I feel like, was them waking up to that. It was them understanding that, like life is more than just our accomplishments. Life is more than just the things that we care about, these things don't matter as much if we don't have the people along for the ride, if we don't have people to share it with. And I feel like for them, like I almost am getting this imagery, especially with the Knight of Swords coming up next, which we'll dive into in a minute, but it's like this idea where this person kind of hit their ground running in life, and like they had all this fire, they had all this passion, and they really moved towards what they cared about. And it got them kind of where they wanted to go. It got them kind of far, but it also wasn't enough. And they did not leave enough room for their dreams and goals to evolve with them. And that's what this Queen of Swords exploration led to. And it ultimately resulted with this Knight of Swords reversed. To me, this energy is really slowing down, because this card, when it's upright, this is charging forward. I mean, look at this knight riding this horse, really propelling the horse to go. Like this horse is not even touching the ground. They are off and running. This card coming up in the reverse, to me, this is about slowing down. This is about this person realizing that actually that forward motion, that's not the energy I really want to live in. Like long term. That's really not serving me. And it's not creating the life that I want to create. It's not moving me towards the life that's really fulfilling. So I feel like your person kind of went on a journey in their history of learning what's really important to them and learning to slow down, that despite their accomplishments, which I do think they're still proud of, and I do think ultimately there is still some roots here of things that they do really care about, but they just have an understanding that there's more to life than this. There's more to life than this thing that really sparks their inspiration. And it's that idea too, where, you know, that fire that burns within them, it can warm them or it can burn the house down. And I think they were moving at a pace that would eventually burn the house down. It would lead them to burnout, and it would leave them, I feel like I'm getting like an energy of kind of just being very alone. Like because they were so focused on this thing, they were just very alone. Even though I do think they had friends, like they had people, but they didn't have real connection. They didn't have deep and meaningful connection. And I feel like this internal journey that they went on, they had to really understand, again, what was important to them, and that they were lacking this connection, and decide to make that a priority. And now, the second thing that's coming up here, we were talking about that voice stuff, them learning to use their voice. I think sometimes when you get into this place when you are younger, where you find your path, you find your calling, or you have success when you're younger, you might feel a little bit inexperienced. Like that inexperience is going to feel very real. And I think that happened to your person. Like they may have had a little bit of imposter syndrome, where like they were the most accomplished person in the room, but they were also the youngest. So it's like, how do you speak to anything? Like they did feel that they didn't belong. I think as a result, they let other people tell them what their next move should be. They let other people advise them. And it wasn't like this was forced on them. They were seeking out the advice. But part of this journey for them has been them getting clear on what actually matters to them, and them finding their own voice, and then being able to advocate for these things, which leads us to this Five of Wands energy. I feel like shortly before you two come into union, they are actually going to really be advocating for this new life, for this new version of their life that they want to move forward with. And I think there is they do have to push back against some people. There are people who do not want them to change. Like this could be, like I'm almost imagining like if this person went on, like they built a company very young. This could be investors. This could be other people who work for this company. Or whatever it is. This could be family who feels like they're making a mistake. You've built all of this up. And this doesn't mean they're necessarily giving it all up, but I do think they're scaling down, they're stepping back, and they possibly could be giving it up. Maybe they want to be starting something new. Maybe they want to take the fire that they started with and come back to that. Because for some of them, it may have gotten to a place where like it got bigger than the mission. You know, their original intention, their original mission, this thing grew beyond that, and they've lost touch with that. So I feel like for some of them, they might be going through a process of kind of just stripping down what actually isn't important to them, so they can really build something that is. And it's them waking up to that and them really advocating for that. And I feel like they kind of are going through a little bit of a turbulent time shortly before you come together, because this card, to me, it's very much a card of, and if you've watched my videos before, you've probably heard me say this, but the Five of Wands is my everyone's talking and nobody's listening card. So I feel like there was just lots of conflict, especially with this card being in the upright, where they kind of had to advocate for themselves and really say, like, this is what's happening. And they got a lot of pushback and they had to stand strong, because this was people they used to take advice from, people who were used to hearing them say, oh yes, of course that's what I'll do. Oh yes, thank you for the advice. And now they're saying, no, I actually think I've got this, and I'm going against your advice. So there is a little bit of turbulence in their circle, in their inner circle, shortly before you come in. But I feel like by the time you come together, they're in a much more liberated position. They have a clearer idea of what they want. And I do kind of feel like there is a little bit of starting over energy for them. Like they're moving into a fresh beginning. They're moving into a fresh start. And I think they are really excited about it. And I'm kind of getting like they don't really have a concrete plan. They're just open to whatever is next. And I don't even think, like, I kind of feel like they don't really see you coming. Like, I'm not sure this is somebody who's intentionally looking to date. I think they're just trying to get their life in order. And then you come along. So again, I feel like this is just somebody who I feel like they somewhat recently have truly found themselves. They've truly met themselves. And they're very grounded in who they are by the time you meet. All right, let's get some oracle cards on here. What else can you tell us about pile number 3? What else can you tell us about their spouse's future, or the future spouse's history? Let's get one more for you. What else can you tell us? Okay, support. Discouraged and encouraged. Yeah, I feel like this is somebody who, again, I do feel like they've had a lot of support. They did have a lot of support getting where they are, and I think they know that. I actually feel like in this case, like for them, I think they have been encouraged in the past, and now people are trying to discourage the direction they're heading in. But these people, I think they are still coming from a place of love, but ultimately, this person has had to go through, I think, kind of a deep understanding of what support looks like. And because they have been supported in the past, but I also think they're realizing where people may not have been supporting them as much as they've been supporting the idea of them, if that makes sense. The idea of who they can be, supporting the potential, and not really checking in enough about with, hey, like, what do you want to do? What do you think of this? And just not considering them quite as much as they're realizing that they probably should have been considered. Ooh, cultivation, neglected to nurtured. Yeah, I feel like this is somebody who's really good at cultivating things. And I think that's part of why they have confidence. I think this is one positive thing they've gotten out of their history is they do have confidence that they can start over and build something beautiful, because they have already built something before when they didn't know what they were doing. They know how to cultivate. They know how to nurture. And I feel like, I love that we have this heart imagery here. Like this person is holding their heart in their hands. I feel like because they have gone through this, they are much more willing to share what's important to them, to share what really matters to them, to share what they want, to actually offer their heart a little bit more openly, because they've seen what happens when they keep things to themselves, when they don't share what's on their mind, what's on their heart. So I feel like this person kind of inadvertently has learned how to be really vulnerable and how to really share, again, what's on their heart, what's on their mind. So I feel like you're never going to have to question where you stand with them. They're going to be pretty vocal and pretty direct about that. What else can you tell us? Let's see. We've got To the Sea, which again, I really love this imagery where we have this character who's in this boat. It's moving to the right, which to me is to the future. So like, again, this person, I feel like they are leaving their past behind to a degree. They really are setting sail, and they aren't afraid of what's coming next. Like they can't see where they're going. They can't see the end result, but I feel like they're really open to wherever they end up, wherever they land. Like this isn't somebody who is interested in being too controlling and having too much control over what comes next. All right, last messages for pile number 3. Okay, that's a lot of last messages. We'll take these 2 that flipped over in my hand and these 2 that flipped over on the table. All right, so first we have opportunity. You will prove yourself and discover if you brave the rough seas. Oh my gosh. Brave the rough seas. Yeah, I feel like this person is seeing a new opportunity to start over. I think their one strength they have is they're really good at spotting opportunities. I think that's a skill they've always had. That's probably part of what got them in this situation in the first place is they had this spark, they had this idea, and they were able to spot the opportunities to really execute it and bring it into life. So I think this person, again, is really good at spotting opportunity. That's part of why, even though they won't be looking, I think, for a relationship when they come across you, but they're going to see the opportunity for something beautiful. Travel. Seeing the surface of the ocean is not the same as diving deep to see the coral. So yeah, again, I feel like this person is going on a bit of a journey. They're going on an internal journey. They are changing their surroundings. And it could be also possible that like traveling is something that they're really interested in. I'm wondering if maybe because they've had so much responsibility in the past that they haven't done that much travel, or at least not traveling for fun. They may have done it for work or what have you. But I feel like the energy of this I'm getting is like they're moving into a place where they want to prioritize more fun and more joy. Determination. Don't be afraid of the rising tide. It will soon recede. Okay, so yeah, this person is very determined. And especially if, like, as they've gone through, I think in general, they've always had this characteristic. Again, I don't think you succeed early on without a certain amount of determination. But now that they've found their voice, like they will advocate for themselves. They are very determined. They have that nature that they are going to vocalize what they need and what they want. And they are undeterred. They're undeterred by anyone who might try to talk them out of it or redirect them. They have just kind of found a new sense of self. And this doesn't mean that they're going to be like unreasonable, but they know themselves and they're not willing to compromise on who they are. They're not willing to compromise on their values. And dance. Take inspiration from the moonlight dancing on the surface of the sea. Again, to me, this is just more confirmation that they're looking for more fun. They're looking for more freedom. They're looking for more fluidity. I feel like this is somebody who, like, because of their history, they're kind of breaking out of deep structure, rigid structure. Like, I think they're learning to find, again, that more fluidity, more fun. This dancing, it's kind of like dancing with life. It's kind of the energy that I'm getting. And I feel like that's what they are looking for and what they're looking to move forward with. And on that note, pile number 3, I'm going to leave this reading here. Thank you so much for letting me read for you. If this reading resonated, I would love to know how in the comments. And if you enjoyed this reading, please give the video a like and subscribe to the channel. I would really love to have you in future videos. If you would like a personalized experience, I do have tarot readings that you can book with me, personal readings you can book through my website. I also have live readings that you can book and coaching sessions. All of that information is linked in the description box below. And if none of that sounds right to you, but you do want to support the channel, I do have like a donation tip jar linked below. This is never expected, but always appreciated. And it just goes to support the growth of the channel. But no matter what, thank you so much for being here. I hope you're having a wonderful day or night wherever you are in the world. And I hope to see you in the next one. Bye. Hey Pile 4, welcome to your reading. Let's take a look at the history of your future spouse. What is your future spouse's history? On this one flipped over. I think there's another one in the deck. Yep. What is your future spouse's history? What is your... Oh, there we go. Okay. Okay, first up for you, we have the 10 of Wands, followed by the Devil reversed, followed by the 3 of Cups reversed, and the 6 of Swords. Oh my gosh, okay. So one thing I think has really been interesting in these readings is, like, I didn't plan on this when I started, but I've kind of been using the uprights and reversals to indicate how this person has in the past dealt with their internal world versus their external world. Have they been more internal? Have they been more focused on self-development and self-growth and not very focused on like career and like external status and you know, external things, and vice versa? And pretty much universally, it's been pretty balanced, which is great. And like in your case, it's the same thing where we've got these two reversals, we've got these two upright cards. So I feel like this is somebody who has a pretty healthy balance between doing the internal work and personal growth and doing the external and kind of tending to their world and growing their more human experience, we'll say. So I am seeing that balance here for you, which is really great. Overall, I do think this person has probably been through some harder things in their life. I think they've overcome some things, but by the time you're coming together, like again, this is in their history. So I think a lot of this is behind them. They've kind of already learned these big lessons. And I feel like, which makes sense. I feel like that's part of why they're going to be ready for you when this happens. But they do have some harder stuff in their history. Things that I feel like they might be a little self-conscious to share. Like they're hoping you'll be accepting of them after you hear these things. But it's not terrible. Like we'll get into the specifics, what I'm getting. But I just feel like there are just some harder things that they've had to deal with and had to navigate. So with this 10 of Wands, I am feeling like for them, they were given a lot of responsibility at a young age. With the 10 of Wands coming up, the 10 of Wands speaks to carrying too much. And with them specifically, I'm wondering if somebody, like I'm getting like parent or something, but somebody may have died early in their life that put more responsibility on them. Like I don't know if they were like maybe the oldest of a sibling and like their parent or parents died, leaving them to kind of corral the siblings, or if there were just other like bad or toxic energies in their home that they were kind of just in charge. I'm kind of getting that like older sibling taking care of their younger siblings energy. It doesn't have to be that specific scenario because again, it's a general reading, but that's just the energy of this where it's a situation where like they had more responsibility than they should have at a young age. And I think overall, I do think there are some positive characteristics of that. I do think this person is at this point, by the time you come into union with them, like they are very responsible. They have some really hard boundaries about well-being and that kind of stuff, safety and well-being. But I do think they've had a little bit of like their childhood, I think, was just a little bit difficult for them. And with the Devil reverse here, I do think this led to perhaps some like escapism. So the Devil, especially when the Devil's upright, it speaks to like giving into vices. So this can be drugs, alcohol, food, like anything that like we can kind of become addicted to, things that we use to escape reality. I do think this person experienced that at some point. It might not have been directly as a result of their childhood, but it's that kind of idea where like at some point that might have caught up to them. The fact that they weren't really raised in a stable environment. And when life got to be too much, they didn't really have the tools to cope with it. So they turned to some kind of an addiction. Now, the fact that this card is coming up in the reverse, to me, this means that addiction is behind them. Like whatever it is that they dealt with or struggled with, they've dealt with it by the time you come together. And I think like significantly before you come together. Like this isn't like a recent recovery type of situation. I feel like this is pretty substantially in their past. But it is something that they've struggled with. And I feel like this specifically is kind of the thing that like they might be like a little hesitant to share. For some of them, others, I feel like they own this. Like they just know this is part of their history and they're very confident in the fact that this is in their past. So it does actually kind of vary depending on like person to person. But overall, I do feel like this is something that, again, they struggled with it. There might always be, it might kind of lurk in the very crevices of their mind. But it's not something that's a day-to-day. It's not something that like they're not really concerned about regressing or relapsing or anything like that. Like it is pretty under control for them. And a large part of that comes from this Three of Cups. The Three of Cups, when the Three of Cups is upright, to me, this is like sisterhood. And it doesn't matter what gender you are. It's like the energy of sisterhood, which is people who see you, who celebrate you, who are there for you, who totally have your back. When it comes up in the reverse, I feel like your person kind of had to learn to do these things for themselves. They had to learn to see themselves. They had to learn to truly celebrate themselves. Like to me, this is kind of giving, at least in this specific reading, it's kind of giving like reparenting energy where they did have to learn to reparent themselves. Like, and they, again, because we have these reversals, like they did this work. They know how to be a quality functioning human. And like, again, that's quality functioning human, that they know really how to, how to be their own validation, how to show up for other people also. But because they have, like, they basically, I guess kind of what I'm getting is they rebuilt their self-worth. They really rebuilt their self-worth from the ground up. And to the point that I really feel like if you were to meet them, like when you meet them, it's going to be hard for you to even fathom them in a position where they did not have confidence and like self-worth. Because I do think by the time you come together, they are solid. They are so solid that it's just going to be really hard to fathom how they were ever not like that. But it's because they've done all of this work, because they've done all of this inner work. And it's put them in a position where they've just become a very reliable person, and they have a lot of self-trust. Because again, I think it's really interesting, as much as depending on what it is they've struggled with. In some cases, of course, there might always be that, I think, what is it? Is it in like Alcoholics Anonymous? I'm not even sure. But it's like you're kind of like you're always an addict, like you're always an alcoholic, even if you aren't like currently in it. I might be getting that wrong, and if I am, I apologize. But I believe it's like that idea that like you always are, even if it's like you've been in recovery for 10 years, 20 years, whatever, you still kind of like have that identity or whatever. So I do feel like there is that fact, like they're aware of that fact, but they have rebuilt themselves to the point that they understand how they got in this position in the first place, and they truly don't have a concern that they will go back to those habits. They really have a lot of confidence, they have a lot of self-trust, and they have a lot of vision, I think, for what their life can be. And it's because they've done all of this inner work. And that is what leads us to this Six of Swords. So I feel like the Six of Swords really speaks to kind of a bittersweet ending. It's like, to me, it kind of has like a graduation feeling, assuming you liked where you went to school. But it's the idea that like you worked really hard to reach a goal, and you've probably made a lot of friends along the way. But eventually you get to this point where it's time to go. Like, you've accomplished what you've come to accomplish. It's time for you to go to new lands, to go after new goals. And it can be hard to leave, but it's also really exciting for where you're heading. That's the Six of Swords energy. And I feel like that is kind of the energy that your person is in shortly before you meet them. I feel like this is kind of them, like they did all their healing work. Like whatever happened in their past, whatever their history is, they did all of their healing work. They really get themselves on their feet, not just on their feet, like they are thriving. And it comes to a point that it's time for them to go to a new place. In some cases, this might be literally like they get a job at a new city and they move there. And that city or town could be your city or town, and that's how you meet. It could also be them kind of maybe separating from their family more, like especially if they were in that like caregiver role as a kid. It's them realizing they don't have to be, and kind of prioritizing putting themselves first for a change, and actually leaving their siblings to live their own lives as they go and live the life that they want to, even though they might still be close, all of that kind of stuff, but they are ready to forge their own path. So I do just feel like there is a big departure. It is like, I feel like they've recently had a really big awakening, and that awakening is leading them to really build a life that they can be proud of, a life that feels good to them, and it's putting them on the path to, I'm just getting like this like miraculous life energy. It's like everything that they've endured has really shaped them, but it's also put them in a position to really appreciate the good things, and they've done the work to actually believe that they are worthy of the good things and to strive for the good things. And they are all in on the good life. Like that's kind of the energy that I'm getting. It's just they are all in on this good life. They are really leaning in and really leaning towards it. And I think that's also part of why what brings you together, because they're in a place to be ready for that. They're in a place to really be able to be in a healthy, stable relationship. Because again, I'm just getting, as much as this person has struggled, I'm getting rock solid energy from them, like at this point in time. And it really is like their past has kind of given them that rock solid energy. They've always had a certain amount of reliability, a certain amount of responsibility. And they did have to rebuild some pieces of themselves. But once those pieces are in place, like it's on a solid foundation. Let's see what the Oracle cards can add for us. What else can you tell us about pile number 4's future spouse's history? Okay, first up, we have unveiling. Yeah, clouded to radiant. I feel like this is kind of their journey, that they were clouded. Like they kind of didn't have a clear sense of who they were or what they could do, how they can contribute to the world. And their journey was learning how radiant they are, learning how radiant the world is, and just kind of like unveiling themselves, but also unveiling what's possible for them. Oh my gosh, I love this. Wish, despairing to hopeful. Again, this has been their journey. And I love that we've got these butterflies because their journey has been truly transformative. I feel like we all go on transformation journeys to a degree. I think that is just, what it means to live in this world. But theirs is definitely one where, I feel like there are some people that it's like, if you hear stories about them as kids, that it's like, oh yeah, no, that's who you always were. Or you at least you've always had that characteristic. You've always had that personality. There's a core of them that you can really see. I feel like this person has totally transformed. Like, of course, there might be some stories that you still see their essence in, but they are just a completely different person from who they used to be. And I think they went from being very despairing, feeling very trapped and hopeless. And that's what led to, like, from between like their childhood and then whatever else happened in their lives led them to this situation where they were into some more escapist tendencies. And they had to heal all of that. And now they are hopeful. They are optimistic. They are really open to the good life. Again, like we talked about. And they're willing to make wishes. They are willing to put their dreams on the line because they know that's the way to chase them. Like they want to bring them into reality. And they are willing to be vulnerable enough to go after them. Next, we have truth be told. Okay, I love this. I'm really being drawn to the mask that we have on the bottom of this card. I feel like this person, they do not wear masks. Like you get what you see with them. They are not somebody who plays games, who pretends to be someone they are not. Honesty and integrity is very important to them. And they just, truth be told, you are going to get exactly who they are when you talk to them. This doesn't mean like they're going to be cruel or assholes, that kind of stuff. Like in conversation, they're not going to be like very cruel in the name of being honest. They're going to be just truthful about who they are. They're not here to play games. They're just not here to play games. I also love that we've got these hearts happening. So I do feel like when you come together, again, like they're not here to play games. They're going to be honest with you. They're going to tell you how they feel. They're going to tell you, again, like I think they'll be honest with you about their past. I think they will be very honest about what they've been through. Because again, they're just not here to play games. That just keeps coming up. They're not here to play games. They are here to move forward. They are here to live in this place of joy. And I feel like to a degree, they might not have had people who were as honest with them in the past as they would have wanted them to be. So that's one of the reasons why they really value honesty. Okay, let's get some last messages for you. Pile number 4. All right, we've got chance. You are allow the sea to wash its chest of wonders ashore. You never know what the tide may bring in. Yeah, I feel like that, again, that's kind of the energy I feel like this person lives in, where they're open to whatever might come their way. They're willing to take a chance. They're willing to take a chance for greatness, for joy, for exciting things to come their way. Move. Barnacles only grow on a docked ship. Yeah, I do feel like for a lot of them, I feel like they've recently moved before you met them. Like, and I feel like it was kind of a significant move, like we were talking about, like actually changing cities or changing towns. I think they just like, it was like, it really is like marking a fresh start for them. And lastly, the ocean, the beautiful, mysterious, wild, and free. I think this is actually kind of their energy, beautiful, mysterious, wild, and free. I think there is a lot that you might wonder about them when you first meet, like this mysterious energy. I think they probably give off the vibe that there's a lot more to them that meets the eye. But this wild and free, like I feel like they're leaning into, again, all of the magic that the world can bring. They're really leaning into embracing more, again, it's embracing more joy. Like they've just had such a rough past. They've gotten themselves to a place where they actually believe in the magic of the world, and they're not sacrificing that for anything. They're someone who is very present, who is very much live in the now. And this doesn't mean in an irresponsible way. Like I think they're aware to a degree you have to be mindful of the future, but they are somebody who really is willing to stay present and wants to enjoy their life now and not wait for like 10 years to have fun and to be joyful. So I feel like this person is really interested in bringing a lot of joy and openness to your life, and they're looking for you to be open to the same kind of joy and magic that they are. But on that note, pile number 4, I'm going to end this reading here. Thank you so much for letting me read for you. If this reading resonated, I would love to know how in the comments. And if you enjoyed this reading, please give the video a like and subscribe to the channel. I would really love to have you in future videos. If you like a more personalized experience, I do offer readings. You can book them on my website, which is linked below. I also offer live readings and transformational tarot coaching sessions. Again, all of that information is linked below. And if you would like to support the channel, but a reading or experience is not right for you, you can certainly donate or leave a tip in the donation link. That is never expected, but always appreciated, and it goes to support the channel. But no matter what, that's all I've got for you today. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you're having a wonderful day or night wherever you are in the world, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.